Please video like and subscribe this channel. The Hall of Convergence had not echoed with silence like this in centuries. Thousands of crystalline spires rose toward the vaulted ceiling, each humming faintly with the energy of the galactic accord. Delegates from 100 worlds stood frozen in place, some breathing shallowly, others utterly still, their bioluminescent skins dimmed by shock. At the center of it all, seated upon the living throne of obsidian light, Queen Xyleria of the Valari Dominion stared at the child in front of her. Her golden eyes, ancient and sharp, did not blink. "That child," she said slowly, her voice rippling through the chamber like gravity itself, "carries our blood." A murmur surged through the hall. Advisors recoiled. Guards stiffened. Even the stars beyond the transparent dome seemed to dim. Captain Elias Rowan felt his heart hammer against his ribs. He had faced plasma fire, pirate armadas, and the vacuum of space itself, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Because the child standing beside him, clutching his small hand, was his son. And the woman standing on the other side of the boy, the woman the Queen was staring at with a mixture of fury, disbelief, and something dangerously close to fear, was his wife. Lyris of Valara. The Queen's daughter. The rescue that changed everything. Elias had never planned to save a princess. 5 years earlier, he'd been nothing more than a human reconnaissance pilot flying salvage routes along the outer fracture. His ship, Wayfarer's Grace, was old, patched together from forgotten wars and forgotten heroes. He liked it that way. No one expected much from a man flying a relic. That was why he'd been the only one close enough when the Valari royal convoy was ambushed. Pirates using phase-shifted weapons, illegal, experimental, and devastating, had torn through the escort fleet. Elias had watched from the shadows of an asteroid belt as royal ships burned. He should have left. Instead, he dove straight into hell. The Grace screamed as he threaded through debris, firing old-school kinetic rounds at pirate engines. He never saw the escape pod ejecting from the flagship until it nearly collided with his hull. Inside was a single occupant. Lyris. He didn't know she was a princess then. He only saw a wounded alien woman with silver blue skin, glowing eyes dimmed by pain, and fear she was trying desperately to hide. He pulled her aboard. Pirates tracked him, hunted him across 3 systems. Elias fought, ran, and nearly died more times than he could count. When the Grace finally limped into a neutral station, his ship was barely holding together. Lyris survived. And when she woke, everything changed. A bond forged in hiding. Valari were not like humans. Their lifespans stretched centuries. Their biology was tied to energy, bloodlines, and something ancient their scientists called the resonance. Royal bloodlines were sacred, rare, powerful, and tightly controlled. Lyris had been raised in a palace of light and law. Now she was hiding in cargo holds and backwater stations with a human pilot who barely trusted himself to live another day. At first, they barely spoke. But gratitude became conversation. Conversation became understanding. Understanding became something deeper, something neither of them had expected. Elias learned she was the Queen's only child, presumed dead after the ambush. Lyris learned Elias was a war orphan, raised by the fleet, loyal to no flag but his own conscience. When Valari agents began quietly searching border systems for signs of the princess, Lyris made her choice. She didn't go home. She stayed. They ran. They changed identities. They lived among traders, smugglers, and outcasts. Against every law of the Dominion, Lyris bonded with Elias, mind, body, and blood. Their union should have been impossible. But love, Elias learned, had a way of rewriting the rules of the galaxy. Then their son was born. The child of 2 worlds. Kale Rowan was not fully human. Nor was he fully Valari. His eyes glowed faintly when he laughed. His heartbeat resonated with energy fields. He could sense emotions before words were spoken, feel disturbances in space like ripples in water. Lyris knew immediately what he was. A hybrid. A living impossibility. Royal Valari blood, merged with human adaptability. If the Dominion ever discovered him, Kale would become a weapon, or worse, a symbol to be controlled. They fled farther. Changed names again. Lived quietly. For 3 years, it worked. Then the summons came. A Dominion-wide call for all free captains to attend the Convergence Summit. Refusal would be considered treason. Elias had no choice. Lyris begged him not to go. But she knew better. Running had an end. And the Queen of Valara had waited long enough. The Queen's gaze. Now, in the heart of the Dominion, Queen Xylaria descended from her throne. Every step echoed with power. She stopped inches from Kale, towering over him like a living god. The child did not cry. Instead, Kale looked up and smiled. The resonance flared. Energy rippled outward, bending light, stirring ancient runes carved into the hall's foundation. Gasps erupted as Valari nobles staggered, overwhelmed by the unmistakable signature of royal blood. Xylaria staggered back. "No," she whispered. "Impossible." Lyris stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Mother, I live. And so does your grandson." Silence fell like a blade. "You broke our laws," the Queen said, her tone sharp with rage. "You bound yourself to a human. You diluted the bloodline." Elias moved instinctively, placing himself between the Queen and his family. "I saved your daughter," he said quietly. "I loved her. I would die for them." The guards raised their weapons. One command from the Queen and Elias would be vaporized. Instead, Xylaria laughed. A sound like breaking stars. "Human," she said, eyes blazing, "you have already changed the fate of my people. Truths older than law." The Queen ordered the hall sealed. What followed was not a trial, but a revelation. The Valari bloodline, Xylaria revealed, was failing. Birth rates had declined for centuries. Royal resonance was weakening. The Dominion stood on the edge of extinction, though few beyond the inner circle knew it. Kale was not an abomination. He was a solution. His hybrid blood sang with strength the Valari had not felt in generations. Human adaptability combined with royal resonance created something new, something the ancient prophecies had whispered about but never fully described. "The child of two skies," the Queen said softly, kneeling before her grandson. "The bridge between stars." Lyris's eyes filled with tears. "You would have turned him into a tool." "Yes," Xylaria admitted. "Once." Elias clenched his fists. "And now?" The Queen rose slowly. "Now," she said, "I must choose between empire and family. A choice that shook the galaxy." The announcement echoed across the Dominion within hours. Princess Lyris was restored. Her union with a human was recognized not as a crime, but as a sanctioned bond. Kale was named heir of Convergence, not sole ruler, but living symbol of a new era. And Elias Rowan? He was offered titles, wealth, command of fleets. He refused them all. "I didn't save her to become part of a throne," he said. "I saved her because it was right." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she bowed. A queen bowing to a human sent shockwaves across known space. The future begins. Years later, children across the Dominion would learn of the moment everything changed. Of the human pilot who defied empires. Of the princess who chose love over fear. Of the child whose blood carried not just power, but possibility. Kale grew surrounded by two worlds, fluent in both, belonging fully to neither, and therefore to all. And Queen Xylaria, watching him play beneath the starlit domes, finally understood the truth she had resisted for centuries. Blood alone did not define a legacy. Choice did. As Elias held Lyrissa's hand and watched their son laugh among the stars, he realized something too. He hadn't just saved a life that day in the asteroid belt. He had changed the destiny of a galaxy. And for the first time in her long reign, the Queen of Valara smiled not as a ruler, but as a grandmother. The future was no longer written in bloodlines alone. It was written in courage, love, and the brave choice to let the galaxy become something new. End.